Hello, it's coming up for the middle of May, and what I like to do around this time is I like to sow my French beans and my runner beans. I know some of you will most probably be sitting there going, why is she not sowing them already? Well, I have tried this year after year after year, and when I first started growing them, I sowed them because on packets they usually say you can sow them from March. So I used to sow them in March, at the beginning of March, and they grew absolutely fine. But then, because you can't plant them out until all frost has gone in your area, and if you sow them in March, for me, I can plant them outside in the beginning of June. So that's all of March, all of April and all of May. So that's like 12 weeks. And they were all twiddled together and they were all curling around each other, and it was an absolute nightmare. So I left it a little bit later on the following year, and again they were too big. So I have figured out that you need to sow them about 3 weeks before you're going to plant them out. Now it's the 14th of May. I should have done them last week, but I was just absolutely manic last week. There was so much going on, I just didn't get time. So that's okay, because they're only a week out, so that's fine. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to sow them. And I find that if you sow them about 3 weeks before they're due to go out into the garden, then by the time they go out, they should be about between 6 and 9 inches tall. And they should still be quite robust. They haven't started to want to curl round a stick. So I find that for me works really, really well. Now I'm going to sow runner beans and French beans, and there are so many different ones that you can choose from. There are climbing French beans, which will need to grow up some form of structure. Usually with, you tend to do a wigwam with some canes, or you'll tend to do a long structure with some canes. But if you don't have the space for that and you want to grow them up some trellis, then they'll grow absolutely fine. So that would be fine for runner beans and French beans. You also get dwarf varieties of both of those. The beans themselves, the pods are the same size, or near enough the same size as the pods on climbing beans. It just means that the plants are shorter. So the plants will grow to about 2 foot tall maximum. Usually they don't need any structure to hold on to because they're sort of short and stocky plants. But if you find that maybe where you live it's quite windy and quite exposed, then you may well want to put some little canes. So use canes that are about 4 foot tall. So insert about 9 inches into the ground, and then they've got a structure to hold on to. But it's basically, they don't send out the curly tendrils that the climbing ones do, so you may well just have to use some garden twine just to hold them in place. But I don't usually support my little ones. So the varieties that I have got this year, and I have sown 2 lots already just now, and I thought I would show you the other one. I've got some dwarf runner beans here, TZ 1111. I'm not going to sow any of these this year because I have sown some climbing runner beans, which are these ones, and they're called Guinness Record. Apparently they're really, really long. So let's pop those ones there. Now this is what runner bean seeds look like. They're quite large, like that. Okay, so there's my thumb. So they are quite large. These are runner bean seeds. Most runner bean seeds are about that size. Sometimes you'll find that some are slightly lighter in colour than others. And the French beans that I am growing this year, there's Mascote, those ones, which is what I'm going to show you. They're climbing ones. And then the other variety, which I grew last year, which were really, really nice, these are dwarf ones, and these are called, oh no, sorry, they're not climbing, they're dwarf. I'm so sorry. These ones are called Vela, and they did really, really well. So this is a French bean seed. French bean seeds are roughly the same as each other. Sometimes they're usually roughly the same shape, but they do vary in colour. Oops, these ones are white. And as you see, they're really quite tiny. Hope you can see that ones. The Vela ones were sort of a light browny colour. So sometimes you might find that they're a darker brown. But they will all be the same size, roughly the same size. And you sow them all in exactly the same way. So let me show you how to sow beans. Right, so I'm going to get my little square pot here, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fill it with some compost and then just give it a gentle pat down. Now I've done 6 here. What I will do is I will fill this tray up and I will get 15 of these in there, but I'll just show you these few and then you'll get the idea. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sow 3 seeds. Oh, that looks a funny one. We won't have that one. 3 seeds per pot, like this. And if all 3 come up, then that's absolutely fine. So I will just, when they come to go outside, I will just, you know, take the pot off, and I won't separate the beans in the pot. So I'll do 3 on each like that. Just pop them on top of the compost like that. And do the same with your runner beans. When I did my runner beans, I did 2 per pot, just because they're that much bigger. Let's put those in. And then all you need to do is you just need to get these 2 fingers here, your 4 fingers, and just put your finger on the bean and push it down to just make sure your finger goes in and your knuckle is showing above the soil like that. So it's basically gone down just over 1 inch. Now the reason I put these on top of the soil first is if you get distracted by anything and you have to go away and then come back, and then you'll go, oh blimey, which ones have got them in? Because, you know, otherwise you'll be searching and you might not be able to find them. So that is why I put them on top first. So in goes the last one. And then all we're going to do is we're just going to cover them a little bit with some of the compost in the pot. If you find that you need to add a little bit of compost, then do. But that's all we're doing, is we're just covering them up just like that. So I will carry on and I will fill up this tray, and then when I've done all of these ones, then I will show you. So there we go. There's 15 pots in there, and there are 3 bean seeds in each one. The germination rate for beans is usually pretty high, so I'm expecting 2 from every single one of those and 3 in most of them. So hopefully in about, I don't know, a week's time possibly, especially at this time of year, they should start popping through. So I won't have long to wait. When they do start popping through, what I'll do is I'll take a photo and then I'll put it up on Twitter and on Instagram, and then you can see them. So that would be really cool. If you are looking for a climbing variety of French beans, then the one that I would suggest would be Blue Lake. They're very prolific and they're really, really easy to grow. So if you want climbing French beans rather than dwarf French beans, they're the ones to go for. So I'm going to give these a nice water now. I will water from the top and let the water sort of soak through. At this stage you don't want to put a load of water in the tray because you don't want the seeds getting damp, really soaking. If the seeds get too wet and stay wet for too long, then they will rot and you won't get any beans coming up. Well, I hope you are growing. I'm just going to put these down because they're actually quite heavy. I hope you are growing some beans, whether they're French beans, whether they're runner beans, whether they're dwarf ones or whether they're climbing ones. I hope you are growing some this year. They really are a lovely vegetable to have in your vegetable patch, and you don't need a huge amount of space. If you can only grow things in pots, then the best varieties to use are the dwarf ones. So if you've got an allotment or you've got space and you can have the climbing ones, then do. You can even have the climbing ones, as I said, if you've got, say, a trough, and you can sow the seeds in a trough and have the plants growing in there, and then they can grow up some trellis that's attached to a wall. So either way, you can actually grow some form of bean in a very, very small amount of space. Well, I hope you have found that useful, and I will keep you updated on their progress. And as I say, in hopefully about 3 weeks' time, they should be going outside in the garden, but I will show you that when I come to do it. Well, I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye-bye.